All right, Leidos is up, and we are looking at that stock because it has rallied to a record high today after its latest earnings report, after a top and bottom line beat as it raised its guidance also for the full year. So joining me now, Tsilis, senior markets correspondent, to get us across that name, what this company said and why it's rallying today, George.
Well, I think the reason it's rallying, I think there's a lot of capital that's moving back into the defense sector, and particularly the defense sector that succumbed to a lot of the challenges because of DOGE going back to late last year and early this year, especially with companies like Leidos, which is a defense contractor that focuses more in software and cybersecurity. They have essentially a huge market. About 87% of their sales is in Department of Defense and NASA, as well as the FAA. They specialize in things like national security software, cybersecurity, as well as operations for air traffic control and defense systems. And these are businesses that are more technologically innovative, software and services like consulting services. Those are companies that actually got hit in the Defense Department cutbacks that were expected because of DOGE earlier this year, but they've recovered quite nicely since then. And Leidos is one of the leaders in this space. And the numbers are actually quite good. They posted $3.05 a share, up 7%, compared to $2.68 estimated. Last year, they earned about $2.93. The other thing is their sales increased by 7.1% at $4.5 billion versus $4.41 billion. They increased their guidance as well as their dividends. So I think that speaks to why they're more confident in their progress going forward. They increased their dividend from 40 cents to 43 cents, as well as denoted some higher guidance as well. And the stock has been moving higher. You got to keep in mind that year to date the stock is higher, but if you go back to late November of last year, it really hasn't made a lot of room since then. But it's starting to break out of that resistance area that occurred back in November of last year.
Yeah, I'm just seeing year to date, it's up about 40% or so, clearly outperforming there. I'm just wondering, when we see these companies, particularly if you're in the business of cybersecurity and then you have sort of tie-ups with government agencies as well, you can understand why these companies are becoming sort of beneficiaries of all this spend. But I'm just wondering, as we talk more and more about, the breadth of these companies that are working in the cybersecurity space and that have these tie-ups with the government, how they all manage to sort of compete with each other. I mean, what you're seeing as far as where Leidos sort of sits within the pack, I should say.
Well, what I noticed is, what I noticed is that companies like Leidos and Khaki, which is another competitor, Booz Allen Hamilton is another competitor as well. But I think what's happened here in the last year is we're seeing a divergence between hardware technology-based defense contractors like Lockheed Martin or General Dynamics and some of the other ones that are more involved in consulting services. Leidos does have consulting services as part of its sales, but it also has its own technology. In other words, its own cybersecurity system. So it's a very unique technology outside of just consulting services, which have been relatively weak, considering, again, the expectations of things like DOGE cutbacks. So cutbacks are going to hit mostly consulting services first, and that's what I saw late last year and earlier this year, but now we're starting to see more technologically pronounced companies that have their own technology start to play catch up.
Okay, and just wondering, as far as what the analysts are saying there, is there anything else that you'd like to add on this company, George?
No, I just think the cash flow improvement in the business is there. And I also think the political structure around cutbacks for all defense contractor was overblown, and we're basically seeing a resumption of trend in Leidos.
Okay, thanks so much for getting us across that name, George Tsilis, as always. I'll speak to you a little bit later on for these earnings. Back